All right. Call this meeting to order. May I ask you please to rise for the invocation. This evening, our invitation will be given to us by Pastor Eddie Tomlin from the Grace. From the Grace Cultural International Church. Have we got that right?
Yes, sir. Close enough.
Would you please come forward? I'm going to ask after the invocation for you to remain standing for the pledge of the flag.
Amen. Let's pray. Father, thank you. Thank you for people who are concerned about our community. God, I thank you for leadership that you've given us, Lord, from our county commissioners, Lord, to our city councils, Lord, our board of education, and so on. Father, you've blessed us with great leaders in this community, but you've blessed us with a great community. So, Lord, we just pray your continual blessings. And, Lord, I pray as Jesus taught us to pray, our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. We do praise your name. We praise you as our King. We praise you as our Lord. We praise you as our hope, our strength, our help. But God, in all things, we thank you that you are our Father. You have our best interest in mind. And because you have our best interest in mind, we pray that that relates, Lord, to these leaders, Lord, that are in this room tonight. God, I pray that you'll speak to their hearts. Always give them the understanding that if they trust you, that even though we have many plans, God, it's always your plans that prevail. And Lord, I just ask you, would you continue to touch their hearts? They'll always seek your face. And Lord, we pray right now in this meeting that you'll give these people, these commissioners, Lord, give them your wisdom and the courage to use it. And we give you all the praise. In your name we pray. Amen and amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Thomas, and thank you for being here this evening. First item on our is consideration of a resolution to approve the agenda. Anyone got any changes, corrections, additions? Motion.
Make motion to approve agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Floyd to approve the agenda as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve the minutes for the October 20th, 2015 regular commissioners meeting. Any corrections, changes? Motion.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Floyd to approve the minutes as written. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Should be noted that public comment should be limited to our agenda items only, and the documents from this meeting are located in the clerk's office and on the Board of Commissioners website. All right. We have an appearance by Reverend Lloyd Dees.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission and ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you very, very much for providing the opportunity for me to come and share with you all this evening. Since I was here last, I have been chosen as the chairperson for our advisory committee, and I come to you now in that capacity to share with you some efforts that we have undertaken. My first meeting was that I presided over was in July, and so we have begun to look forward to a new year, and we want to share at least a couple of things with you that we are going to pursue. In the last session of the General Assembly, the Elders Abuse Act was passed, and Governor Deal signed it into law. So it is a law now, and it has to do with so many senior citizens in our state, and especially now in our county, that are being abused, sometimes physically abused and mentally and other ways. And that is the reason for the passing of the law. I believe it took us 2.5 or 3 years to get it where it came, but we pursued along with the Georgia Council on Aging and our agencies pursued that, and of course it did pass, and it is the law now. Our concern now is that since the law is passed, I believe that no law is effective unless it is implemented. And so we are asking and presenting our concern about all of our counties and municipalities and be truly involved with the implementation of this Elders Abuse Act, especially now since I represent Effingham County in our county. Our hope is that at least the chief law enforcement officer will be duly acquainted with the law by securing copies if he hasn't already done that, and apprising his other colleagues of what it is, and getting a commitment from all. And I'm asking commitment from our commission to do all that we can do to see that the law is implemented, so that this elder abuse in our county will be diminished, if not eradicated altogether. So we are calling upon you to be participant in that area. A couple of things are going to happen. Now we're going to need new personnel throughout the state of Georgia, and that's going to involve more money. So that's going to be a budgetary item coming up at the next session of the General Assembly. And we would hope that your support would be upcoming for that. I don't know what the amount's going to be now that's going to be requested, but I know they're going to try to secure sufficient personnel in order to see that the law is implemented. And my hope is that our county will be right up there as number one, who will be involved in implementing the law so that it will be effective for our senior citizens in this county. Last September, 2 months ago, I spoke to the CRC, the Coastal Region Commission, and I don't know if the audience know, but this area, coastal area, is comprised of 9 counties, Bullock and Effingham, Chatham, Bryan, Liberty, Long. I used to be able to name them all just so fast. McIntosh, Glenn, and Camden. I don't know if I missed one, but I think.
Scriven County.
Who?
Scriven's in it too. Scriven County.
Yes. Thank you very much. I see him at the commission meeting, so I'm thankful for your presence. And so all of those counties involve our coastal area, and they are involved. And we work together as an area, as these 9 counties, to see what we can do for all of our senior citizens in this area. So I'm asking for your commitment and support with respect to this Elder Abuse Act. The other thing that I want to share has to do with the number of persons in our area who are on what we call the waiting list for one service or another. Some have more to do with home delivering meals and other kinds of services that need to come to their homes to service elders. But in round numbers, there are 1,600 people in our area that are on this waiting list for one kind of service or another. I believe I'm right. In our county, there are about 80 people who are on the list for one kind of service or another. What has happened is, in the last 2 years, if not 3, the budget for our agency has been cut both by state and federal government. So we decided, our advisory council decided that we wanted to try to help, at least to do something to raise some money. We cannot raise a sufficient amount, of course, but we're going to try to raise within the coming year $50,000 to help with meeting some of the needs of those who are on the waiting list. I also shared this with the CRC, the Coastal Region Commission, and we've already received some contributions from some members of that commission. Of course, we're looking forward to others. So we shared this also with you, and we ask for your support in this effort. I hope that in both of these efforts, our county will be outstanding, and that we'll be up there, number one, trying to provide services for our senior citizens. These are the two items that I wanted to lift up for you. I've given the clerk a copy of an appeal letter, I think that's what I call it, we call it, that she was going to share with you. And we hope that we will get a proper response from as many as will for this effort. So we do our best to represent our county, and we can do more with the support of all who have a concern about the welfare of our senior citizens. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you all very, very much for the opportunity to come and to share with you. And I shall come back from time to time to give a report on how we are doing with respect to the $50,000 and with respect to the implementation of our law. You can receive copies of the law by going on your computer and downloading, and I hope that everyone will become familiar with it. And for that, I thank you very, very much.
Reverend Dave,
Yes.
if I may,
Yes.
I missed it. You said you were the chairperson. Is that of the advisory council?
Yes.
Okay, and the law, who is you asked that we help implement and enforce this act. Is that correct?
Would you please repeat, sir? I'm sorry.
I think in your statement you asked that this commission help to enact and enforce the act. Was that correct?
I'm not quite sure.
Who is put in charge of seeing that this act is implemented correctly?
The law enforcement of the state, the district attorneys of counties, chief of police of municipalities.
The local, I did hear him mention the local law, I heard him mention the local law enforcement, which I would assume would be Sheriff McDuffie. Have you talked to Sheriff McDuffie yet?
Can I come close?
Absolutely.
Have you talked with our sheriff?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No. This is the first time that I've spoken in our county concerning that, and I was hoping that you would talk to your sheriff. I mean, I don't mind talking to him, but I don't know how much weight I would have, but I hope that the commission.
Well, I greatly appreciate your time and your effort and your willingness to serve.
Yeah.
And I would ask Stephanie, our clerk, could you please download the law and email it to each of us? I think that would be the first step. We actually need to see what the law states.
Right.
And who's empowered to do what.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Sure, thank you for bringing it to our attention, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Look forward to seeing you in the future.
I will be back. Thank you.
All right. All right, next item is, we have one item on consent agenda. Consideration to approve an assemblage permit for Albert Jackson for a turkey shoot located at 187 Church Road. Springfield map number 366A, parcel number 17. Each of you have the staff report, but this is something that's been done for several years.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second.
A motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Jones to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. First item of new business, consideration to approve a resolution of surplus.
Mr. Chairman, there is a list in front of y'all of items we would like to surplus. The vast majority of the items on this list are various and sundry pieces of lab equipment that are out at our wastewater treatment plant that have been there since it opened and have never been used. And they're basically just trying to make room for additional stuff. I believe the intent of this is the intent to sell it, and if not, this is what we were coming about y'all in the previous meeting about being able to donate stuff to the school board. So I don't know if y'all can approve our ability to do so in this, or we need to come back with that additional policy in the future, but we're going to first attempt to sell it, so we have some time. There's some cardiac monitors on here. You recently approved a purchase agreement or lease agreement for additional ones. These are the ones that will be traded in towards that particular lease agreement. There are 4 vehicles on here. The last 2 of these 4 chassis are the ambulances that we have remounted. Y'all may recall we talked about that. They are still in Atlanta. They're going to give us $2,500 a piece towards the value of those remounts. So those will go towards the remounts of the new ambulances. The Effingham County Public Works building is just that. It's not the land, it's the building. We would like to demolish that to make room for the fleet maintenance building that y'all approved at your last meeting. And then the last item on here is this 3.94 acres of land. I'd like to ask that y'all remove that at this particular time, and we'll bring it back in the future. You'll notice Exhibit A at the back is a legal description for that property. I want to revise that legal description and bring back a different configuration of the property for y'all, if y'all would so choose to do so.
Any questions?
What item did you want removed?
The 3.94 acres.
Okay.
Yes, we're further describing Exhibit A on the back. I want to revise that exhibit.
What are we ever determined on being able to donate to the school board?
Well, if you recall, we have a policy in place, and it basically doesn't allow for donations, within the policy. We were trying to add that provision in the language that staff had, the board has some concern with, and we were going to make some further amendments to it, bring that back to you in the future. We've yet to do so. We still need to do that, to correct that language, to bring that policy back.
You were saying we can just go ahead and surplus this right now as you're working on that?
Yes, ma'am, because we're first going to attempt to sell it anyhow. So then if it doesn't sell, we'll have that policy in place, by the time we actually do the
And
surplus.
ideally, I'd rather donate it to the school system than sell it for a few dollars, but.
And that's up to you all. That's completely up to you all. Now, let me further say this. We've not, to my knowledge, asked the school to even want it. We just thought it may be something they could use, so.
I mean, the board may choose to just go ahead and put in a bid for it.
And again, that's up to y'all. If you would prefer not to try to sell it, that's perfectly fine. Whatever direction y'all have, I appreciate it now, so we don't do something y'all don't want. If you want to hold it, we can hold it. And wait on that policy, that's fine also.
I think we're fine.
Our policy at this point.
I think we're fine to go ahead and surplus it.
fine.
We're fine to surplus it. Again, would y'all prefer that we hold it for now and not offer it for sale?
Nobody's going to buy you.
Well, and I think the idea is Richmond Hill is building a new wastewater treatment plant. We will try to see if they need some of this equipment, but as you pointed out, these things are stuff that they're there because we've never used them. We're not quite sure how we ended up with them. They're very odd items that we rate for a chemistry lab, but we're running a wastewater treatment plant.
Make a motion that we approve the list as presented with the exception of the removal of the last item of 3.94 acres, Exhibit A.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Loper. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve a request to refund taxes paid by Robert. I'm bad with names, so you'll correct me. Ramoser?
That's
For tax years 2013 and 2014 for a property located at 3154 Midland Road, map number 374, parcel number 16.
Mr. Chairman, the tax commissioner, tax appraiser, and I believe our county attorney may be speaking to this item.
You're going to have to turn that mic around, I can't hear you,
Okay.
please.
Better?
Better.
Okay. Our tax commissioner, tax appraiser, and our county attorney will be speaking to this item. Who wants to start?
Who wants to be first?
I'll start.
I don't know, y'all can wind it up. I'm Linda McDaniel, Tax Commissioner. We received a request in our office for a gentleman he wanted a refund for his disabled veteran exemption. He is currently getting an S1 exemption, which is the basic state exemption. He had his paperwork that said he was 100%. I'm learning now that that might not apply in this case, but what his paperwork said that he was 100% disabled. I did not check to see had he gone on and completed his paperwork. I learned after the paperwork had gone in that he had not filed for the exemption, is why he was not receiving it. So once I learned of that, I called the state and I said, what do we do? I called my auditor, Don Hicks, and I said, what do we do in a case like this? I said, this gentleman is, he qualifies, he will get it for 16. He wants 13, 14, and 15. He is not paid for 15. So he said that it's up to the Board of Commissioners, that in some counties they do retroactively go back and allow it, but it's totally up to the Board of Commissioners. My feeling and his feeling is that he is not, now which our county attorney may have a different take on this, but I don't believe that he is eligible for 13 because his paperwork said that he would be effective for 14. And I've expressed that to Mr. Lee that I didn't think he was eligible for 13.
The paperwork states that he became...
January 1st, 2014 said, and that's what we have. I don't know all the details, the wherefores, all I know is this is what he presented to me, and it's in your hands. There's some who don't think that, that it meets the criteria, and it may not. I don't know.
Under what area of criteria are you saying it may not meet? What's the question on that?
Well, I think when we talked a while ago with the Board of Assessors, they were saying, they shed to light some things that I wasn't even aware of. He did not file, so
Until when?
He filed in 2015. So he did not file. He would have had to have filed before April 1st of 2013 to get the 13 exemption. His paperwork says he was effective in 14, so to me 13 is totally out the picture. But Lee's going to talk to you about that too.
You're saying the paperwork, because it's a few different things. The paperwork from the VA says that he was 100% eligible for VA in 14.
Correct.
And that did not file for the exemption in Effingham County until 15 to qualify for 16.
Correct.
Those are those different pieces that you're...
Correct.
It was after April 1st.
I'm sorry.
He filed after April 1st?
Yes, he filed after April 1st.
Yes.
And he got a letter from the Board of Assessors saying that he was qualified for 16. then he came to our office and said, well, he was sent to our office that said, you know, he give him a refund, so we worked up paperwork. I did not see the paperwork, all I was told was that, and so we're gonna have to start looking at that a little better. The only thing I was told was that the gentleman, was applying for a refund to the Board of Commissioners, and I provided the form for him to fill out. I never met the man, never talked to him.
When you said he's asking for a refund, then did I also hear you say that he hasn't paid one of those years?
He's paid everything, hasn't paid current year, and it's not due till the 16th of November. So current year would just be, if you granted that, it would just erase the taxes,
So
you
he's
know.
asking for a refund then for 13 and 14, and see if we will also make it applicable for 15, which is not paid yet. Because
Correct.
he did it for 16.
Correct.
And then who is it, you said you called the state that said, up to the Board of Commissioners?
I called the state because I didn't know how to handle it because, you know, this is, always coming back asking for money is not the normal. We don't deal with this. This is the first time a veteran has come in and asked for a refund.
Who did you reference that you contacted the state?
Don Hicks, he is the auditor with the Department of Revenue. He is our county auditor for, representing the state auditor for our county.
Okay.
He said we take our digest to get approved. And I called him, and I meant to bring his letter, but he just said, well, Linda, he could get it for 14, and he could get it for 15. He didn't, he said, I don't think he should get it for 13. But he said, but there again, it's the counties, some counties do.
I would say in the future, I would appreciate that if there's that type of information, like his letter would be in our agenda book for us to see.
I'll make sure that you get that, yeah, I'll make sure. And I can send it to Stephanie, it's just it's a point of reference. for,
Right,
you
and
know.
also for the county attorney to review as part of his decision and helping us to be so.
With that, I mean, if he wasn't deemed 100% disabled until 14, I would agree personally with 13.
Well, we don't know what the paperwork says.
Yeah,
Now, we have the paperwork on that. I think Stephanie has that too. That was,
Asking for 13.
This says the Department of Veterans Affairs certified disability benefits on July 15th, 2014.
look at that, look at the effective date.
Oh,
Look
but
at the-
it's retroactive.
Yeah, look at, yeah, it's the effective date. And there,
But he would have been unable to apply in 14 if he didn't get it certified until July 15th,
Right.
even though it was retroactive, that date would have passed.
yes, correct. So, I mean, and veterans are handled differently. I mean, you know, I know in automobiles, it's handled differently than just the general population. And there are things like they get free tags and if they're disabled, you know, so it's a lot of things that are different about veterans.
So the state made his benefit retroactive to January 1st of 14.
14, correct. It's what, this is what the Department of Veteran Affairs gave him. So, but anyway, that's the overview. You know, it's entitled, it's up to y'all entirely. I think Mr. Newberry may want to add some things to that he learned by his research.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, Lee, let's try to simplify this thing a little bit. Is there any party on this board, our attorney, our tax commissioner that feels that we should even deal with 2013? Because I don't.
Yeah, I don't either, I agree with that.
Okay,
Because
so
the
it's-
effective date is 2014.
So let's talk about 2014 forward.
You know, a strict reading of the statute would require him to actually apply in 2014 to get the benefits. So if he just took that route, then it wouldn't be entitled to a refund. But you do have the ability to grant his request for a refund. And it wouldn't be a refund of the total amount that was paid. It would be a lesser amount. And I think if I've written it down correctly, Ms. London, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would basically be the refund amount for 2014 would be $1,881.36.
That's correct.
And then what would happen in 2015, since he hasn't paid yet, he would pay the adjusted bill. The current bill is, which would be around $3,544.82. But if you grant his exemption, you know, for the 2014, it's going to apply for this year as well. And so what he would pay for 2015 is $1,597.73. And from this point forward, he will pay the adjusted
1,597?
and 73 cents.
Okay.
So the only true refund that we would be the 1881.
Correct.
But may I say that for me to remove those taxes, you have to approve 15 because I can't remove them unless it goes through you first.
Well, you're saying we would approve for him to pay the adjusted amount.
Correct, correct.
14, you're granting the exemption, which is going to apply.
I think we understand that.
Year after
Okay,
year.
okay.
There is no question from any party that this gentleman was disabled and is entitled under the Act from January 1, 2014 forward. So the only question becomes whether or not his failure to file for that exemption disqualifies him to receive that exemption for 2014 and 15, am I correct?
Without giving to us.
Well, I think you gotta deal with us either way. Okay. Any more? Member have a question?
So the question then is, it is within our discretion, even if there's been a failure to file on time, to approve it, is that correct?
That's correct.
The board would be approving a refund of what was those numbers, 1,800?
The refund will be $1,881.36.
36 cents?
Correct.
And the 2015 amount would be what?
I'm sorry, yes, 2015.
2015 that has not been paid yet, what would the amount?
He would pay $1,597.73.
And the bill is $3,544.82.
All right, 15 what?
97.73.
All right,
That would have to be fine.
so the question before this board, and I want to give everybody that's got anything to say about this thing, the opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'm Tim Matthews. I'm chairman of the Board of Assessors for y'all, actually for the whole county. But the only key things I see here, as you all know, or if you don't all know, most of you do know that I'm retired in the United States Air Force, and I'm a veteran. We have other board members that are also veterans, one of which is disabled veteran, serving on the tax assessor's board. We kind of deal with two things. We don't tax. What we do is we determine qualifications based on state laws and policies and procedures from the state on how we apply for exemptions statuses, whether it's homestead, military exemptions, what have you on taxes. And all those are done, and we go through, and we've got a strict guide that says, our guide says January 1st is a critical day, April 1st is a critical day. Almost everything we do, if you fail to file, even in some cases where there's cause that you weren't able to get in, the cutoff day is the cutoff day. But y'all can make a determination and go through that and waive it, and that's okay. And in some cases, I think it needs to be looked at. But it doesn't negate an individual's responsibility to comply with the application. I think when we first got the notification, it was filed in October, I believe. It was approved quickly, posted, letter came out immediately. But we were restricted in that we cannot apply it retroactively. We can only apply it by our guidelines, and by the way the state lays it out for us to function is we read it, goes through, comes in after April 1st, gets applied effective the first day of the following year, which would be 2016. So that he's already set for. But when you go back and you start opening the doors up for precedent on this case, it's not just, I don't think you're just setting precedent for veterans exemptions. I think you're setting a precedent that failure to file by a certain date then can be waived. And that's up to the county attorney's recommendation, and you all to make a decision that once you start backing off from deadline dates that are enforced by law, then how far are you going to back them off and what other cases, and how are you going to do that equitably across all the citizens of Effingham County? And that's my only point. So it's a hard consideration. I don't envy you.
I can just address one thing.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tim.
You know, the Georgia Department of Veteran Affairs is a government agency, and they publish on their website basically a manual for the veterans. And part of that tells them how to apply for this exemption. Also part of that, when you read through it, it gets to the point where it says, for those who are not aware of the amount of the authorized exemption, it is possible to file a claim for a refund of taxes that have been overpaid. Any claim for a refund must be filed within 3 years after the date of payment. Now, I understand we're bound by rules. I understand that completely. But when you have a state agency publishing that, but there's no reference to a code section for the authority for it, it's an issue.
So the state agency is advising them in writing that they have up to that time to appeal it.
They would have 3 years from the date they paid the tax. And they would get grievances. So if he's paying in 2013, we'd have 3 years. But again, they don't cite a code section for that statement.
Well, for the record, let me tell you that I agree with him, and I think he put it well. From serving on the Board of Equalization before, we saw a number of appeals come through for people who did not file for just homestead exemption by the April 1st deadline. And then that was their method to come and appeal. And I don't remember a case where it was ever granted. I think the only reason for this board taking a second look at this is because it is a veteran.
100% disabled veterans.
That's correct. That's the only reason. I understand what Tim says on this board. You know, you start going back, and every one of those people that had homestead exemptions that was turned down, does that then give them the right to come back and say, well, you turned me down, I want my money? And it does open up a tough can of worms. And though I thank everyone who served, I have a hard time opening up that can to grant something that I think I feel sure, and veterans in the room can tell me if this is different. I have been told that disabled veterans are counseled in a number of different ways and told of every exemption and everything that is available to them. And if that is the case, and this just happened from what I've been led to believe because they found somebody else had gotten it later, I would have a hard time voting to grant these myself. But this board can do as it wishes.
I guess I'll say this, which will just maybe make it a little cloudy because I'm all over the place on this one, which is not normally the case. But to 2 or 3 different points, like budget-wise, I think the reason, because if we just had easy discretion when somebody forgot to do something that they should do and we could help them out because they'd be doing it if they had just done it on time, if we could just easily give that money, I think we'd always do that. The problem is we've already created a budget based on that tax assessment. So the problem it brings forth is, okay, so maybe if we're going to open up a floodgate of other veterans that will come and do this. We do not have any of it budgeted. So every dollar that we have to pay out, we have to figure out, okay, now that's not budgeted, where are we going to get that money from? So that's a piece of the problem. And often, I can say for myself, I've often not filed homestead exemption in time and understood that then I just wasn't going to get it until I filed it because that's the law. On the flip side, if there is anybody that I would want to give any extra consideration to, it's a veteran and especially a 100% disabled veteran. So with that being said, other than the heartstrings, sometimes what I feel is if you're going to make any kind of exception to a policy, you have to have a rational reason for the exception because we are setting a precedent for everybody that wants to come to us. And then could we financially cover that precedent that we set? So the one thinking I would say I would put on this, with the point that the attorney gave, that there's something on the state website that leaves the veterans to feel that state law allows for this, that is one reason that we could grant that exception. It would open the gates to any other 100% disabled veterans to come, but how many of those can there be?
A lot.
And that is why I'm asking this question, I don't know.
What 100% disabled, total permanent loss of use of both one hand or foot, or loss of both eyesight and both eyes. I mean, if we have, again, it's each of our vote. If there is a case.
But when you say a lot, do you know, is that something you know off the top of roughly there are how many 100% disabled veterans right now?
I don't have a copy of the consolidation report with me, but it is on there for 2015. But my staff, and one of them has worked for years taking exemptions. This year we have received more requests for the disabled veteran exemption than we have in the past. And all of those, or several of them, have asked, can we go back? And we've told them, no, we can't. It has to be filed by April 1 of that year. So, you know, just the same thing goes with the conservation use applications that come in and we say, no, it has to be received by April 1st. So, you know, the decision that you make is eventually going to affect what we do. And I 100% agree with you that they deserve it more than anybody. But, you know, we're still going to have some guidelines as to how we're supposed to act. And even though it's on the website for the disabled veterans that they can do it, it's not on the website of the State Revenue Department that oversees this code section. So
You'd still be sending them to we'd be opening the gates.
you would be,
for them all to come to us.
well, they would come to us and we'll give them this request for refund to fill out and bring to you. One thing I will tell you on this particular one is check that this was appealed to the Board of Assessors, and it was not, because we didn't receive the application until September the 30th of this year. So we, you know, it didn't come in time for it to even be considered in any type of appeal for this year. Okay.
Lee, is there anywhere else you can look to follow up on what you read? I mean, there's a possibility if he was to turn this down, he could go to the state and bring something back saying, no, I am entitled to 3 years. Now, I don't know where it is. Say, if there's
That
something.
is an option, just to deny it.
Well, I would rather table it than deny it.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Brad Green. I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Tax Assessors. I am a 100% disabled veteran. Have not applied for this exemption in the county. Am currently getting the S1 consideration. May possibly be eligible for this, don't know. But I'd like to add some clarification that might help you in understanding what has happened. Our board took the proper action when this gentleman became aware of the fact that he was 100% disabled in, I believe, October of 2015, or whenever it was approved. He got his approval in 2015, stating that he was 100% disabled. It was retroactive by the Veterans Administration back to 2014 for compensation purposes for him to be able to draw the entitlement that he was entitled to. So in fact, in 2014, this gentleman was not disabled. based on statute and so forth. He did not get approved for disability until 2015. It was made retroactive. Now that is a problem with the Veterans Administration and the length of time that it takes them to process an application. Quite probably this gentleman applied for his disability in 2014. He may have even applied for it in 2013. But because of the time frames that the Veterans Administration works on, anywhere from 12 months to 2 years to approve an application for disability, it would not be an uncommon thing to see a situation like this again in the future, where the gentleman in 2014 was not disabled. At the time he would have come in and applied for any type of an exemption. He was not disabled at that point, did not meet the criteria, but then later on became determined to be disabled retroactive to that point. And I think that might be something that you all would want to take into consideration in determining this. I'm all for giving veterans, particularly since I'm one of them, anything that we're entitled to or that we can get that helps us along life's way. But hopefully that will help you to understand a little bit the process that this gentleman went through. In fact, in 2014, he could not come in and apply for the exemption because he wasn't disabled. When he became aware of his disability in 2015, and based on the information that the lawyer has shared that was on that website about even being able to ask for something retroactive, is probably what has caused this gentleman to come in now and say, well, I was disabled then even though I didn't know it, and therefore I want to apply for any of these exemptions that I'm eligible for. So,
Well, the whole problem with the VA, the fact that he was disabled, that's a paperwork error problem. If they found him disabled in 14, he was probably disabled.
he didn't know it.
When you were saying he didn't know, are you saying he didn't know that his ailment qualified him for disability?
No, what I'm saying is, just like in my case, I applied for my disability in 2009. It did not get approved by the Veterans Administration until sometime in about mid-2013. And they made it retroactive back to 2010. There was no doubt in my mind that I was disabled. I met all the criteria that they put out that says if you've got these problems, you're automatically considered disabled. It's the paperwork process that you got to go through and the shuffle that you got to go through. And so I have no doubt this gentleman was in fact disabled in 2014. It just didn't get approved until 2013. He may have been disabled prior to that. But they will only take action back to the date of his application. And so
are you telling me that you sit on the board of tax assessors, and by the rules that govern your board, you can't grant this?
No, sir.
But you would think that this board should?
I'm not trying to tell you what to do one way or the other. I'm just trying to share some additional information with you about this gentleman's particular situation as to why he may not have applied in 2014.
It's my understanding that they have a concern about us approving. Is that?
Anytime you start retroactiving anything, it becomes a concern because you're opening up. If you do it this time, then you've got to put this on the book and remember it because it's going to come back up again at some point in the future. And so all I'm saying is, tread carefully. You set precedents that have to be followed in the future.
Would it be possible from your knowledge of the VA that this gentleman could come back and provide us with information as to when he actually applied for his benefit?
Yes, sir. He could give you a date that he actually submitted his application to the Veterans Administration.
So that we could take that date and see just how long it did in fact take the BOC?
Yes, sir. And it would had to have been prior to the effective date that they gave him in 2014.
If they made it retroactive to January 1st, 2014, he at least applied.
He had to have applied at least by January of 2014. His application had to have been dated at least by that date.
I'm still trying to look at it from 14 to 15, everybody's just looking.
I don't have a problem going back to 15, but I don't know about 13. I'll go.
But what do you about looking?
I'm good 14, 15.
I'm not a big fan of generally of exemptions anyway, but this one, I mean, it's,
At least if you, it's a hard decision, but what Brad shared with you is the date of application is very important. So if you're going to create a policy to do it, to bound it and have it make sense, and you want to go through and consider it like that, then once an individual does files the paperwork for the disability and it comes under consideration, and then the government grants it, then if they make it retroactive, at least bound your points that you will consider based upon documentation that's provided that shows when the case and claim was submitted, when it was approved.
Submitted to Effingham County.
No. If you're going to do any retros, because see, once the Veterans Administration awards something retroactively, you've got federal and state that you're dealing with too. So you kind of take a look at it, make the determination that at least the individual filed, there's a date of application, and then you've got the result.
And that's
Bring that in for your bounding point, and you don't go any further than that.
I think the smartest thing we could do tonight is table this personally.
I would like Lee to follow up also on what is found on that website. If you haven't already, try it.
And that's a veteran's.
It's saying 3 years.
That's what it says. I couldn't find it in the statute, and just for clarification, it seems like the tone is, and I'm talking about advocating for this gentleman who I don't know, to get this refund. I'm just laying out the law that I read, so take that for what it's worth. One other thing, Ms. Linda, if you will, before we move on from this, I think I may have misspoke about handing me the spreadsheet, so I want to make sure if the board decides to grant some relief here, that we have the numbers right. So if you'll just go through those as to, start with 2015, what he would actually owe if he was granted the exemption. Because it looks like I may have misspoke, unless I'm misinterpreting your document.
For 2014, his tax bill with an S1 exemption is currently $3,657.26. With the S5 exemption for 14, his tax bill would be $1,775.90, giving a refund of $1,881.36. For 15, his tax bill with an S1 exemption is $3,544.82. With the S5 exemption, it would be $1,947.09, which would be a credit of $1,597.73.
So if granted the exemption, he would owe the $1,947.09. That would be his tax bill.
Correct.
And I had that wrong earlier for the 2015 tax bill.
947.09, and he'd be getting a benefit of $1,597.70.
No, sir. Yes, you're correct. You are right. That's right. Yes,
So
you're
the tax bill essentially would be the 1947.09.
This gentleman or any of his representatives about years who asked him your question.
We called him. We called him.
I think the date of when he applied for the disability, I think that's a little just clouds it. I don't know that we need to go that deep into it. We need to look at the date, at the date when he was certified to be 100%. and then go forward. But if we start getting into the weeds of when he applied, I mean, it's just,
What is the date that he applied with Effingham County again? Because that's the ultimate problem.
September 15th, September 15th, 2015.
But he was deemed disabled at 14.
Which, with applying on September 15th, that qualifies him for the following year, which is 2016, which the concern is that that applies to every single type of discretionary item that we have, whether it's every exemption, every single exemption across the board. So if we're not going to follow that date, how do we then justify not doing it with everyone?
And that's why.
On homestead, that is the big.
in a perfect world, if he would have applied for it in 2015, then we could have saw that he would have been unable to apply for it in 14 because he wouldn't have been certified until July. That would have made a lot more sense to possibly look at that. But I don't know now.
He got a letter in July of 14 and still did not apply
That's what I'm
until
saying.
September
Yeah.
this year. And that's what I'm saying, folks. I mean, I have a problem with granting it because of the dates.
I think the best thing is to table it. The caveat of what the VA's website, I mean, if they can't trust what the VA's website says, who can trust?
Well, it's the same caveat, that website is saying the same thing the state law says that allows us to go back 3 years.
But it's misleading in the way it's said.
I can't help but to think that's legal.
I understand.
I guess the question would be, as much, if we want to approve this, if we want to approve it, I think much as probably would like to approve it, then if we start getting the next one, and the next one, and the next one.
I would like to approve it, and I would like to approve a lot of others that I have had to come across.
If somebody bought from this country is totally disabled, I'm going to support this. Now, y'all can look at it, period.
I'm not a huge fan of exemptions because that exemption, the burden that exemption affords is placed on everybody else. But with a veteran, if there's anything that everybody else in this county needs to help with the bill for, it's an exemption.
Tax assessors board has something else to add.
Well, that's what I did ask.
The only correction that I got is I thought it said September 15th, it just says September 2015. It came in right at the end of September.
Well,
Signed.
here's the thing, Board, so this is honest, an honest question, okay? Because I feel the same way. To the extent that what I have to understand mathematically is, I almost feel, my personality is if I'm doing it for this man, the other people that don't know, that haven't filed yet, and they're 100% disabled, they deserve the same thing.
Absolutely.
So do we do it automatically? Do we look up?
It's like, we took over, I mean,
And so what I'm asking is when I ask the question, how many of them are there? And you're like, well, there's a lot. It's a lot. 20 years a lot, 190 or.
There's some of it, there are many veterans that have some recognized disability already.
And they already have that lower level.
But have not filed. And as those problems become more complicated later in their lives, and it impacts them, they are suddenly put in a position where they may only be 30% now, but in 2 years, 2 heart failures later, other things, they are 100% disabled.
Right.
And at that point, they file. But where do you draw, the line? And the point that I wanted to make on the letter of recognition, when the VA goes back and awards back to a certain date, that's a pretty good point to take for a definition and gives you substance to then look at that and say, in this case, we can do it retroactively, but you can only do that if you have the data to support it. Otherwise, you have to have a stringent policy.
And are you talking about, in this case, the date that we have of January 1st, 2014?
Yeah.
okay, we're going back a year. know he was disabled, he didn't file. We have the opportunity to grant this, or the ability to grant. But we have the ability to hear this and grant whether there's a policy in place or not. Basically, you make it, otherwise they don't need to be here.
I'm right, Joe.
I'm scrambling too, but
Help us out, brother.
I'd go with 14, 15, no, about 13.
and I would agree with that. I'm looking at 14. I mean, his VA paperwork.
Somebody give that motion.
14, 15, I'm comfortable with that.
Give me the motion.
Does anybody else have the amounts written down? If not, I'll do it.
2014, the amount that I've got, we would be refunding $1,881.36. And 2015, we would be waiving or whatever, $1,597.73.
Correct. Correct?
Correct.
I don't have a problem with that.
You want the motion?
Somebody give me that. I hear the way it's going, so instead of sitting, leave this thing on.
I'll make a motion to grant the refund for 14 of $1,881.36. And the waiver of 15 of $1,597.73. Due to the fact he's a 100% disabled veteran, he back in 2014.
Would you be willing, so that we cover everything that's before us, to amend your motion and to deny refund in 2013?
And deny 2013 because the paperwork did not show that he was disabled at that point.
With a caveat that the paperwork provided shows he was eligible by the state January 1st, 2014. So we'll have that as a precedent.
Will you amend your motion to that?
Whatever she said.
Yeah.
The paperwork shows him.
We want to have that as a precedent.
January 1st, 2014. That supports that's what
I wouldn't refer to it as a waiver. I would just, he'll be granted the exemption for 2015, which will create that credit and have an end result of his tax bill for this year and subsequent years.
So he can amend the word moving whatever.
Allow the exemption to be applied for 2015, which will create a...
With that stated amount, just keep the amount in there and say that way. You want to restate the stuff here, or are you comfortable? Okay.
Motion on the floor, do I have a second? Second. Motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Deloach. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried.
Well, that was easy.
Next item, consideration to approve a request to waive taxes for tax year 2015 for Eden Missionary Baptist Church, map number 302, parcel 122 and 126A. Don't everybody speak.
This is just, y'all think I'm trying to give away all the money tonight. This is one that was brought to me and I asked you to put on the agenda. Churches are typically tax exempt. The church purchases property, I believe, in March. So the taxes for this year are due from March, are due for the year. It is tax exempt. Typically, the state doesn't, Linda, correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing you can do to waive that. Only us again can forgive that tax.
Correct. We can't remove taxes. That's
Right.
without, outside our realm.
Again, this being a church, typically it's going to be non-exempt of any tax. I asked that it be placed on there and the taxes be waived by the county for that church and any church that would bring us if they purchase adjoining property for that time frame. Now there's 120.58 owed that was collected from the original owner that need to be paid.
Because basically they billed it as if it was not owned by a church, because on that day it
It's
wasn't.
January 1.
Right, but then when the church did take possession,
At that point.
I think the process says that we should give them that credit of that exemption.
So,
And I believe
any
the county,
discussion after we just went through that?
I think the county attorney has verified that's seems correct.
My only question is, I agree with you. For the period of time that they did not own it, taxes should be due.
Yes.
So the $120.58 should come forward to the county. Okay? Now, my question is on the tax bill for this, there is a $200 sanitation department bill and $80 fire fee. Is there structure on these pieces of property, or is it vacant land?
I don't. We send the churches a sanitation bill.
Do what?
The churches they get a sanitation bill.
That's what I'm saying. $200 of this bill is sanitation, $80 of it is fire fee. So should we be waiving the sanitation part?
You're saying.
Only what a church is exempt from.
That's right. So that's what I'm trying to come down to the bottom line number. Is there a structure on the property?
I'm not saying they build the sanitation either way.
Is it vacant lot?
Okay, would you come up, please, and is the intent to do a recombination plat to create one parcel of land that would encompass everything? I'm trying to figure out whether we're going to wind up. Yeah. State your name for the record, please.
Warren Kennedy, deacon of the Eden Missionary Baptist Church. And the structure there has been torn down. And right now, that's in the plan at a later date to make that one particular plat, yes, for the property.
So if it becomes one piece of property, correct me if I'm wrong from the tax department, then there would be no sanitation bill and there would be no fire fee.
There would be no sanitation bill or fire fee, whether if there was no structure on it, and it wouldn't have to be combined.
If there's no structure.
If there's no structure, right, both of those would be removed.
But that's why I'm trying to determine, is there a structure to where those parts apply? Okay.
And is there another process where that would remain on the bill and then just come through as a sanitation release or a fire release? You know how we do those? What's the best process, to handle that now or let that come through as a?
For this year's bill, probably handle it now.
Yeah.
Make it five, okay.
Just trying to get all the facts before we do it. Because it's my opinion, if there's no structure there, then there's no fire fee.
On either parcel, there's two parcels, either parcel, no structure.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. So the fire fee would come off anyhow.
Correct.
The sanitation fee would come off anyhow. That's $280 of it.
So it still just goes to that they paid the $120.58 they were awarded at closing?
And really the rest is
Did you
really
understand
all.
that?
The remaining is the only reduction in taxes.
Somebody checking my math, but I think that would be, we would be removing the $80 fire fee, we would be removing the $200 sanitation fee, we would be waiving $552.71, or providing a church exemption from the period of time from purchase date forward.
Well, I have 732.71.
Well, that's the math I did by
732.71 minus 280. What I'm,
the way I came up with 732.71 is just by subtracting the 120.58 from the 853.29.
Correct.
so what I'm saying is, however we need to do it, we would be removing the $80 fire fee, we would be removing the $200 sanitation fee, and we would be granting the church exemption.
For a total of 732.71.
You got it.
That's what you're saying, okay.
That's
He
what
was-
I'm not specifying it like that,
So
right?
alternative two,
Right, and then he would pay 120,
120.58.
Yeah, okay.
correct. And that was what he was credited at Clemson.
Everybody good?
Where did that number come from? Because the total was 638.48, right?
Or 838.
It's 638.
Is it 638 plus the 200 plus the 80?
Where's the plus 200?
Then 80.
And that's already in there. That's already in there. It's much different.
No, there's two parcels.
There's two parcels, okay.
Parcels, 850.
Okay, 6.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
You gotta have them together.
Gotta
Okay.
keep swiping. Keep scrolling.
Okay. In the motion, we don't have to get into all that sanitation,
You just got
right?
you remove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So we do all.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Somebody give me a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative two, to approve the wage tax amount of 732.71. Eden Missionary Baptist will pay the county 120.58 that was awarded to the church at closing.
I second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
How many do we have last
The taxes were current, I presume.
Yes, they're current.
Closing, it had,
I forgot to ask that.
I checked, they're current.
well, I would have thought it had to be.
It didn't come up.
All right.
One more thing, Linda, when do you need that check for the 120? Is it due the 15th or 16th?
Yes, did 16, yeah. I don't remember he had that. I can send them another bill if they want me to.
Thank y'all.
For their back check.
All right. Ms. Joanna, next item, consideration to approve the dispersed funding to Effingham Hospital.
Hold on.
Yes, sir. As you recall, we have an MOU in place with the hospital. We have begun to collect those taxes into a separate account. The funds that are currently owed to the hospital are $859,541.53. As of the date of the staff report, we had collected right at about $280,000. I checked this morning, we have collected another $400,000. So the disbursement will total the $859,541.53, but we currently have on hand basically approximately $680,000 of those funds. So the difference would be what we need to transfer from the general fund into that
I don't have
fund.
a problem with this. My question is, why is this coming before us?
That's what I was
I
going to ask.
mean, we've approved this.
Our financial policy says that any of the large disbursements such as this is supposed to come before you, and you are supposed to understand what we were dispersing to the hospital out of those funds.
But even if we have the agreement in place that we have already agreed, we know we have to do that, I mean, when we have to do it?
If you so wish, I'll be glad to do it otherwise, but it has been coming before y'all as far as a overall disbursement based on the size of the disbursement that's
I
going on.
understand, but I thought that was because of the structure that we were converting from one to the other.
We are.
And I understand the policy, but I thought that was to keep crooks like me from being able to disperse money without it coming to get approved. But I think this is in line with an MOU that this board has approved. I'm just.
That's perfectly fine. All I'd like to do then is next time we change the financial policies is to list this as one of those disbursements.
Okay.
We listed those out. And so we did those specific in nature, and we'll add this as part of that financial policy.
All right, my question goes a little further because we're writing checks to these people that paving our roads.
That, however, is a part of the financial policy and specifically shows in there that anything that we already have a contract on.
And this isn't a contract.
That's how I would look at it as well.
I mean,
Understand.
I'm trying to figure the difference. works. I'm not trying to.
I believe the roads piece of it is specifically addressed in the financial policy. I can go back and pull that section.
Well,
I think the difference is
particular
we're
one-
being extra cautious. That's what
And
it is.
in all things, I want to be sure we don't have an exception.
Let me put it this way. This one is not specifically addressed in those financial policies where we listed the things that we could go ahead and pay. Roads and certain vendors were already listed in those financial policies. This one has not been. But
And we can
I'll be
make
glad
it
that-
There's certainly no harm in putting it on the agenda.
There's not.
It's not the time and reading out everything, it's just not necessary to approve it, so it's just another definite. You could put on the next agenda that we add that to the policy. Because it is, we have a contract to do this, we owe it.
Because the fact remains, by the time you cut this check, you're liable to talk to the tax department, and you might have another $20,000.
That is correct.
So
Yes,
this,
sir.
I mean, this is a moving,
I'll be glad to update those financial policies, I
Okay.
assure you.
All
And then, you know.
You can always
simply
include it in
put
our
something-
packet.
There's no way this is not something that we're not aware of. I mean, we all agree to it, so.
somebody give me a motion to disperse.
Motion to approve alternative number 1.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Gordon, second by Commissioner Kiefer, all in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve to purchase 2 flashing beacons to be installed at the intersection of State Route 17 and Marlow Road, Sand Hill Road. And again, have we not already approved this?
Back in March, what you approved was the application, to submit an application for these flashing beacons. It's basically a stop and go permit, same as a traffic signal. That application has been approved by the Department of Transportation, but at the time in that meeting, what I had put on the staff report was, I really don't know what these things cost. So I didn't have a cost for you all, and I told you I would bring back the cost for the flashing beacon so that you all can make a decision as to whether or not you wanted to install them.
So now we have a cost of $4,684.
Well, you have a range of costs. You have different ones in here. There are 3 different flashing beacons. The Georgia Department of Transportation, I included a little bit of correspondence so you can see what I called their district signal engineer. They don't exactly have a spec on flashing beacons. They have them on signals, they have them on some other things, but they don't have them. He gave us 2 particular manufacturers that they use, one of which is in here, the other one we didn't get a price from. And there are 3 different signals. The one that I recommend to you is not the cheapest signal that's in this particular packet. But if you look across them, there's a little bit of difference in how they're built and made. And one of the things he said was don't get a pixelated view. Well, the cheapest one is a pixelated view. We're trying to adhere to as close as, although they don't have a written spec, we're trying to get, my recommendation is based on the recommendation of Georgia Department of Transportation District Signal Engineer. There are cheap ones. So again, that's what I want to point out, is I'm trying to do it based on their recommendation and the fact that this is what they use. So if somebody hit one and knocked it down, we can borrow one from them and get back started again. So that's what this recommendation is based on.
Or if somebody runs it, we can say, well, this is what.
Yes, their fault.
We didn't use the cheapest one.
Yes.
We used what was standard to be used.
Correct. And that's what this is based on. Again, it is not the cheapest one that we priced out, but that's what it's based on.
Let me ask you this question. You mentioned, it says, recommendation is the board adopt alternative number 1, and then alternative number 1 is approve the 2016 element project list. Do we need to further state which light, because that's not really designated here, is it?
I think you're on the next, the element project list is the next item.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself.
Yeah, and in this one, alternative 1 is direct staff purchase 2 beacons. If you look under funding, it says they're anywhere from $14.98 to $72.34. The particular ones that I'm recommending are the $46.84. So they're kind of in the middle of those. They're not the cheapest, but they're not the most expensive item, but it is one based on the recommendations of GDOT. They don't have a spec, it is basically what they recommended.
Any idea as to the life expectancy of these things, maintenance costs?
No, sir. I truly don't. We don't have any. Every signal, true signal that's in the county is managed by GDOT. We do have a few flashing lights, the ones at Blue Jay and 17, and I think those were installed 2, maybe 3 years ago. We have to date done nothing to them. Probably don't die tomorrow, but we've not yet. The other flashing light, the only thing we ever really have done, to my knowledge, is replace a bulb every couple of years.
And then our maintenance people go install this, this is purchasing, or this?
These flashing signals, basically they mount to the poles that hold the stop sign up. There's a bracket that comes with it, and it sort of slides in the pole. Yeah, and it's solar power. There's no other electrical requirements.
There's solar. So we don't need to cut them oak trees back to where the sun can see.
We'll see what happens. Supposedly they'll run for about 15 days without power. We just gotta get one charge on it.
I got a motion for it.
Make a motion to approve alternate number 1 and with the 4684 flashing lights.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Next item, consideration to approve the Effingham County fiscal year 2016 local maintenance improvement grant. LMIG.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is something that y'all do every single year. LMIG is what you just said, local maintenance improvement grant. It's a portion of the state motor fuel taxes that are collected that come back to local jurisdictions for maintenance. Because we did not pass the T-SPLOST back in 2010, we'll require a 30% match. Our funding allocation for fiscal year 16 is $634,643.40. So 30% of that number is just under $200,000, the $193.93. So we're required to match $193.93 with the $634. The road that I am suggesting on here to be done is one that is currently on the list that you have already approved to be resurfaced. So we would leverage that money. We've already got it budgeted in here. It is being built in fiscal year 16, or resurfaced in fiscal year 16. So it complies with everything. And again, if you all will recall, you kind of put 2 years together in that last round, right at $4 million worth of resurfacing. So your funding was covering this fiscal year as well, which it did span that also physically. So again, it's Old Dixie Highway, it's on the list you've already approved. We're asking for you to approve that list because of the funding requirements.
But the bottom line is, hopefully this is going to wind up freeing up some money that we can look at in another project.
No, sir. This is already accounted for in your short-term work program. When we banded all of that money out, we all went ahead and allotted receiving this in there as well, as in addition to your SPLOST proceeds. Now, it may not have been 634, we may have budgeted at 600 or something, but roughly it's, yes, sir, it's already accounted for.
Any questions? Motion?
Recommendation to approve alternative 1 for the fiscal year 2016 LMIG project budget.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Consideration to approve Commissioner travel for the ACCG Leadership Institute.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it's being held December 2nd through December 4th in Blairsville, Georgia. As I mentioned last meeting, Commissioner DeLoach is required to attend this training to complete his core certification. He will be going.
Motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Kiefer. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Enjoy Blairsville. Next item, consideration to approve 2 letters of engagement for Zipper, Lowerbaum, and Beauvais for legal services. Who wants to talk?
These two items basically deal with the lawsuit for the interpleader of funds against Greenland developers. And the second one would be the Steve Collins lawsuit.
Delaware?
Yes.
All right. Any questions? Motion?
We doing 9 and 10 together?
No, we're on number 8.
I'm at 8 and 9.
But unless somebody has a question or a problem with one of these, no reason to separate it.
No, I don't have any problem.
No two separate lawsuits?
Yes, Delaware and the interpleader for Greenland Development.
One for girls.
8 and 9.
Since we don't have any kind of staff report that it's, like, you just want us to approve that going forward?
We've already discussed both of them.
I'm saying, what's the motion? What do they want the motion to be?
Approve the engagement letter.
Approved from each of them.
Okay.
Oh my God. Somebody give me a motion authorizing me to sign these two engagement letters.
Make a motion to approve for you to sign both engagement letters.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried.
Was that on the curveball there, Stephanie?
That's all.
Was that on the curveball, put them together, or?
No, I mean, they're for the same firm, so.
Okay. There were just two separate items.
Two different firms.
No, the
Next
next one
item.
is for all of
Next
them.
item.
Oh, I was confused.
Consideration to approve a letter of engagement for Oliver Manor LLP for legal services. Now we're on number 9.
Yeah, sorry. My fault.
This one would be also to deal with Delaware. If y'all remember, there was reasons for both to be involved. This is federal, correct?
That's correct.
Delaware. Give me a motion.
Make a motion to approve a letter of engagement and follow the manner for legal services.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Deloach, second. Commissioner Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Last item of business, folks. Our new business. All right. Staff reports. What you got, Tom?
You have got your monthly report from the animal shelter. Georgia Transportation Summit, we received this from ACCG, so I put it in here. American Council of Engineering Companies, the Georgia Partnership, ACCG, and the Georgia Development Association holding a transportation summit. It's November the 10th. Y'all have another date, and I'll get to the same day, 7 to 5. It's in Atlanta. There's a agenda and so forth in your packages if y'all want to look at that. A while back, the board approved some additional exploration, geotechnical exploration out of Atlas for the purpose of determining if there were any more mineable material out on that facility. The results of that are included in your package up there. The additional boards and so forth, and what they revealed. There's also a summary that I kind of put together on the front of it that you can read and show what it basically says. There's probably not a whole lot left out there. Most of what's mineable has probably already been taken. There will be a ribbon cutting ceremony for the new bridge over the Adichie River on US Highway 80. That is next Thursday, November 12th at 10 a.m. Ms. Purcell has extended an invitation to each of y'all and would very much appreciate your presence at that, Mr. Chairman.
Understood.
And supposedly there was going to be an e-bike that came out. I still haven't seen it. So That's all the information that I have. Their spokesman, Ms. Nagel, was going to send that out. She indicated, anyhow, I haven't seen it, but it's November 12th, 10 a.m. It'll be on the bridge before they switch traffic. The annual Legend issue that the Chamber hosts is December the 2nd, 7:30, College and Career Academy, where it always is. We have a little bit of time there, but you can start, letting Stephanie know so she can get y'all registered, get a head count up so we can get you registered for that event. Effingham County Office of Recreation and Parks is going to hold its 40-year celebration next Tuesday, November the 10th. It begins at 5:40 p.m. I believe at their facility. The letter was not real descriptive on that, but I'm sure we can find them. And so, of course, you are all encouraged heavily to attend that event. And then I included some additional information. We sent this out to y'all before about the stormwater utility, that part that was covered in service delivery. There's some information in the back of this packet. And basically what it is the stormwater utility study that staff presented to the board in 2012, I believe is correct, somewhere mid-year 2012. The minutes from that meeting and copies of letters that were sent to each jurisdiction, and then there's some excerpts from service delivery regarding that particular issue.
Is that an answer to the conversation that came up last night?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That is what that's intended for. And if there's any further questions, once you look at it, let me know and go over it. But it's, we did in fact do a study. We did present it to the board. The board did in fact vote. Letters were sent to each of the municipalities with the outcome of you all's vote. So it is our belief that we have complied with that agreement. Yes, sir.
Their big concern, it seemed like last night's meeting, was how much impervious area was in the city limits.
Should be listed in this report.
Okay, good.
And again, it's been a little while since I looked at it. If it's not, we can certainly give them that. With our GIS department has that data.
Well, that's a moving target too. I mean,
It is. We do planometrics every 5 years. Is that correct? Planometrics every 5 years. They were done in 13.
Yes.
We're looking at doing them again in
We've been doing them every 3 years.
every 3 years. I'm sorry, every 3 years.
Looking at, if
First
we put
next.
it in the budget for 16, we won't do it till 17.
Yeah.
what,
So
what do we call that plan?
planometrics. It's when they fly, they end up taking certain data off of the aerial photography. We have planometrics on impervious area, which is parking lots, rooftops, sidewalks, pools. We even got power poles this last time, and there may be some others, but wetlands and so forth. So we have all that data, and RC can query that. I mean, he can certainly get you all that information. In fact, Steve and I, before he left, met with Wesley and Amisha and had this very same conversation with them. That we can certainly help them out in any regard that they want of gathering this data and running it for them, and that's where the conversation ended. So, if they want that information, we can certainly get it, and I think it's split out in here, but what I think it says is incorporated, unincorporated. It doesn't split out each of the municipalities, it's just lumped together.
The main concern last night seemed to be that everybody was supposed to agree on some type of fee to charge for drainage based on this study. And this board, or the board that was in place at that time, decided not to charge a fee.
So I said we decided zero.
Yes. Well,
You said it very well.
you can read it for yourself. I think that's a close interpretation of the language. Again, I believe we comply with it.
Well, thank you for providing it. You were quicker than, didn't even ask. Something else?
No, sir, I'm done.
The last page in your grade books is the fire report from Clint. We sent that in late this evening.
All right. Any other staff? Any commissioners?
Nothing, I just had an anonymous complaint
I love
from
anonymous.
someone,
Call road,
just to me, huh?
call road.
No, but it's actually to yours district. So,
Is it a bit?
It's an error given to me. it's anonymous to you. About already district parking.
No.
I was on your team before,
No, about that same one.
but it's anonymous, so I don't know how you.
Somebody's parking their RV on the side of the road.
Okay, we had some other anonymous complaints come in that we're code enforcement was working on. I didn't know it was the same.
Okay. Anybody else? I think all of y'all were sent something having to do with subdivision crimes, cars being broken into.
Send something where,
Recently?
Yeah.
where, out, you know?
Yes. I got a text, but it looked like it was sent to everybody.
I'm not aware of it.
Honestly,
Did you know that that has occurred?
yeah, they talked about Autumn Woods, they talked about, drawing blank, down Highfield Road, they were right.
Also, I didn't mention the guy, thing on Kensington.
Lakewoods on the left.
You can, we had a conversation with the health department, they're not. According to the health department, he either has to tighten or not. And he has to go back.
There's no in between.
There's no delay
Oh, okay.
connection there. If he wants to build a structure, he's got to connect that.
Gotcha.
And I apologize, I forgot to
But I'm forwarding it to him. Anybody else got something? All right. Speak now, forever. All right, we're gonna take a short break. Be back in here at 7 o'clock for planning board.
So you just give Mr. Moon?
Yeah, well, I just.
Okay, so the person might work, so this person is not the person that's talking about work. So the law or ordinance or well, yeah, I mean, it's like this is my chance that we do.
These are the different things. The way I live here. We're just
Turn on. Time is 7 o'clock, time for planning board presentation. First item. Planning board recommends approving an application by James Curtis Jones for a variance to build a driveway with access to Marla Road over a non-access easement located at 126 Lee Village Drive, map number 323C, parcel number 8 in the first district.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Jones is seeking to put a driveway off of Marlowe Road for the purpose of storage of a vehicle that he drives home. It is currently, I think, residing on the cul-de-sac in front, blocking certain traffic, trash trucks and emergency service vehicles, so forth, should they come. And the damage that it could potentially do to the roads inside of Lee Village. They presented a petition, or I guess probably not the right word, a letter of support from the homeowners association in which the homeowners association supports this request. Staff has no issue with it. The planning board's recommendation was that, in short, this easement be granted for Mr. Jones and not for the property, so that at such time that he no longer needs it, it would go away, not necessarily carry with the property. He has a permit for the driveway already. I believe the driveway is already installed. He just needs permission to use it at this point. So staff would recommend approval of this particular variance, again, with a condition that it go with Mr. Jones and not necessarily with the property, but at such time the need ceases to exist, that the variance ceases to exist.
All right, public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak for this?
How y'all doing?
Fine, sir.
I'm James Curtis Jones. Yes, sir, I was just trying to get that driveway put in I drive the Georgia Power truck, and we drive it home, and I'm just trying to get it out of the neighborhood. just trying to get that driveway in the backyard there, so I put my truck in the backyard. That's what this is about.
So you can have it there when the power goes out and run out and pick it.
Yes, so they called me at 2 o'clock this morning.
We appreciate it. All right, anyone else wish to speak forward?
Hello, I'm Carl Waterbrook. I am the Homeowners Association president, and it's over a year now that we actually voted for this. It was uncontested in the vote. It was unanimous for all the people that did vote, which a majority, a very strong majority, did vote for it. And we simply want to protect our road. Village Drive was repaved several years ago and is already having a little bit of difficulties, and Lee Drive, that one's not doing well at all. It has been repaved. We just would like to keep it so that everything is accessible and smooth. And the county's been out a couple other times to do some repairs, and we feel that if the bucket truck, which I don't know how many tons it is, doesn't have to come down that road, we're going to be much better off as a neighborhood. So we wholeheartedly support it.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else here wish to speak for? Anyone against? All right, I'll close the public hearing. First district.
I make a motion to approve the planning board staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor? Any opposed? Being no opposition, passed unanimously. We move to the second reading.
Thank y'all here.
It's fixing to be official. Just a minute.
We got a second.
Second reading, consideration to approve the second reading of an application by James Curtis Jones for a variance to build a driveway with access to Marlow Road over a non-access easement located at 126 Lee Village Drive, map number 323C, parcel number 8 in the first district. Motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Floyd, second by Commissioner Loper. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? So carried. Now you got it. We do things different.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all very much.
You're welcome. Next item, Planning Board recommends approving an application by Byron R. and Daisy Godby for a conditional use for a 1/2 acre family cemetery located at 767 Zipper Road, map number 395, parcel number 18 in the second district.
Yes, I know there's a whole lot to be added to that. It is simply that it's to be used as a family cemetery. And I believe that Mr. Godby is aware of the requirements that we have for a family cemetery and completely understands it.
Yes, Byron Godby. We're asking for a permit to build a family cemetery on a 1/2 acre plot on our property, and hope you approve it.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing, and I presume that you are in favor. Anyone else here wish to speak for? Anyone here wish to speak against? All right, first district.
I'll make a motion that we approve, I'm sorry, the second district.
Is it first or second?
It's second district, I'm not.
I will second it. I'll make a motion that we approve it with the staff recommendation and planning board recommendation, recommendation, alternate number 1.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Floyd. All in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously, so we move to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Byron R. and Daisy Godby for a conditional use for a 1/2 acre family cemetery located at 767 Zipper Road, map number 395, parcel number 18 in the second district.
Make a motion that we approve the conditional use for the cemetery plot with staff and planning board recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Floyd. All in favor? None opposed? So carried. You got it?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next item, Planning Board recommends approving an application by Jesse A. Powell to rezone 1 acre located at 2560 Old Louisville Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 251, parcel number 8 in the 3rd district.
Yes, sir. This is a rezoning for a house to be moved on. Like I said, he just wants to put a property in his house, 1 acre, put a house on.
All right. This is a public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak for?
I'm his grandmother and I'm for it.
Okay. And your name for the record?
Cheryl Powell. Cheryl Powell.
Carol? Cheryl. Thank you. I'm a little bit busy. All right. Anyone else here wish to speak for? Anyone against? All right. So I'll close the public hearing. This being in the 3rd district, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve an application by Jesse Powell to rezone 1 acre located at 2560 Old Louisville Road from AR1 to AR2.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Deloach, second by Commissioner Loper. All in favor?
Excuse me, do you want to make it with the forced planning board staff recommendations?
Do you wish to approve, to amend your motion?
Then those won't be part of the requirement. Just want to be sure you're aware of that.
The planning board recommendation.
Yeah.
Let's do a staff recommendation.
And they're the same, what
Say
planning
the
board?
same, either
Yeah, you just have to put that in.
one. Either one of them do it.
Okay, well, I'll add to pertain with staff recommendations.
All right.
Second.
Commissioner Deloach's motion amended to include staff recommendation, and Commissioner Loper's second to accept that. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Since it passed unanimous, we will move to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Jesse A. Powell to rezone 1 acre located at 2560 Old Louisville Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 251, parcel number 8 in the 3rd district.
I'll make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second motion by Commissioner Deloach, second by Commissioner Kiefer to approve the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Next item, the planning board recommends approving an application by Angela Grovenstein to rezone 1 acre located at 3401 Courthouse Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 348, parcel number 21 in the 4th district.
Yes, Ms. Grovenstein would like to rezone that 1 acre to subdivide it. I believe her son's going to live on the property, is the intention here. And planning board and staff do recommend approval.
This is a public hearing. Anyone here wish to speak for this rezone?
I'm Angela Grovenstein, and I would just like for y'all to approve my request.
All right. Anyone else here wish to speak for? Anyone against? All right, I'll close the public hearing. This being in the 4th district, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the staff recommendations.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed by unanimous vote. So we move to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Angela Grovenstein to rezone 1 acre located at 3401 Courthouse Road from AR1 to AR2, map number 348, parcel number 21 in the 4th district. Motion.
Make a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Jones to approve the second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Good to see you, Angela. Haven't seen you in a long time.
Yes.
All right. Next item is, no more items.
Yeah, you got one more.
We got a variance for.
One more, same item as a variance for the one you just
Number
approved.
9 and 10.
Oh, okay. Somebody has to keep these straight.
Got 3 of them.
Gotcha. All right. Planning Board recommends approving an application by Angela Grovenstein for a variance to occupy a camper trailer during construction of a new home located at 3401 Courthouse Road, map number 348, parcel number 21 in the 4th district.
Yes, sir, this is a variance, as you said, to occupy camper during construction, and Ms. Grovenstein may need to just speak a little more of this one, because I think the way the planning board has this written, we may need to discuss, slightly on the stipulations. If I understand this correct, your son's in the process of selling his home, and until that happens, he's not going to start construction, so you don't know when this variance is going to occur. It's at that time. So the planning board made a recommendation to grant a variance, but it says a building permit must be submitted no later than 30 days from the date of approval of this request. And I don't know that he can do that because your home's still for sale. I don't know that that can be complied with. And then the applicant can live in the camper for a period of not greater than 180 days. So I don't believe they know when this will actually occur because it's tied to the sale of the home. So I don't know that they can comply with those 30 days.
So the 30 days will be after they approve, after the sale of the.
Of the previous zoning request. I think what their recommendation was that they must apply for a building permit within 30 days of tonight.
Okay.
And that's good for 180 days with that building permit, I don't think will be.
But not to be open-ended either.
Correct. So I just wanted to let them understand that we need to work through these stipulations right here.
Angela, will there be a reason to put the camper there prior to applying for a building permit?
Shouldn't be, no, sir.
So if this board was to state that this variance is okay, providing a building permit is issued for construction on that site to be good for no longer than 180 days, would that take care of it?
It would for me.
Yes, sir, I believe that would take care of my concern was the 30 days from the issuance of tonight. It was my concern.
If there's no reason to put the camper there before he sells the house, and there's no reason to get a building permit before he sells the house, then it would appear that he can get a building permit to construct the home and the clock would start ticking at that time.
Yes, sir. So I think if we could just amend that stipulation to read it that way, I think we'd be fine.
How about that?
That'd be agreeable with us.
All right.
Make a motion to approve,
Well, first off,
I'm sorry.
is there anyone here opposed to this? Since it's a public hearing. All right, we'll close the public hearing now. I'll take the motion.
I make a motion to give them 180 days from the time they get a building permit to live in the mobile home to get the house built. A camper trailer.
Yes.
We good? You good with that, camper trailer?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. I have a motion by Commissioner Loper. I already have a second. Commissioner Keeper did.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I got a third from Commissioner Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. So since that is a unanimous vote, in the affirmative, we move to the second reading. Consideration to approve the second reading of an application by Angela Grovenstein, 40 variance to occupy a camper trailer during the construction of a new home located at 3401 Courthouse Road, map number 348, parcel number 21 in the 4th District.
You ready?
Motion by for my second reading.
Make a motion to approve, living in the, I said mobile home before, in the camper trailer, 180 days after receiving the building permit.
Would you amend that and just approve the second reading?
Yeah. Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. All right, folks, have I missed anything now? All right, I am told that we need an executive session. I have a motion. You do it.
Make a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel, property, and penal litigation.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kiefer, second by Commissioner Lowe. All in favor?
Aye.
None opposed, we stand so adjourned. Jack, are you asleep? I'm trying to tell the guys, right?
They open.
Okay.
I is too. In order to be open hall, are they? In order to be open hall, are they? No. I'm gonna go see how the election turns. Yeah.
You going out and see how the election went?
Yeah. I don't think the turnout was too bad.
Oh, no, there was, at District 2, at my.
Then I gotta go to the
There was 55 people that showed up at 2 o'clock. That wasn't very.
Well, I had 60
Time,
at 4.
60, so we'll probably have about 100 each.
My poll workers, they look like tag man.
Well, they were kind of, everybody was kind of looking for 100 per district, so that would be 1,700.
I am.
You got the image from them?
Did I take them back from them? Next item, consideration to approve the October 20th, 2015 executive session minutes.
Excuse me, if I'm going to add an item to the agenda, do we have to do that first or after?
Either or.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Any corrections? Motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner Floyd to approve the executive session minutes October 20th, 2015 as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So carried. Any other item, business to come before this commission?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we add another additional item to the agenda, adding that we take a vote on the MOU that's been presented to Effingham County from Atlantic Waste.
All right. Second. Your motion is to add new business item number 10?
Yes, sir.
And that is to take action on an MOU from Atlantic Waste.
Yes.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Jones on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Loper. All in favor of adding new business item number 10? All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. All right. New business item number 10 has been added. Any discussion? I have no document, so.
As part of the discussion, since we don't have a document, we have all been presented with an MOU in executive session from Atlantic Waste that I'm not in favor of at this time. I don't know if we need more discussion than that, but just to get it explained, we've all seen it.
The MOU was to purchase the land, as I recall, that we have acquired in the settlement of the lawsuit for the purpose of doing a study to see if it was feasible to put a landfill, and if so, would this commission agree to sell it for
A designated amount, and the MOU, correct, yes. And I guess for the record, I don't mind stating for myself at this particular time, if we do end up going in that direction, I believe it's something that we would want to have a public hearing and have the citizens input on, but without a lot of additional information that would change my mind. I know that I'm personally not in favor of a landfill on that property. I'm putting that on the record because I feel like I'm put in a position that that's necessary to do, so that's my position at this time. And if there's any other discussion, I'll be glad to make a motion once everybody has stated whatever they want to say.
Okay. Anybody else got something? State your motion.
I'll make a motion that we reject the current MOU that has been presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner DeWitt. All in favor? Any opposed? So carried. Any other business to come before this commission this evening? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Loper, second by Commissioner DeWitt.